Jane Doll Studios presents the More Better Narrative podcast. This is episode 87 with BJ McMurtry, Jesse Annell, Mike Armine, Mike Wolberg, and Mark Bennington.
I'm in the middle. Because we showed up last, man.
That's true.
We're recording.
Make them uncomfortable. Punish them.
We are?
I don't want to.
Hey,
Hi.
welcome.
What's up?
I'm BJ McMurtry.
Mark Stanley Pennington.
Michael Christopher Wahlberg.
Michael Armine. I don't have a middle name.
Really? I didn't know that.
No middle name.
You don't have a middle name?
My parents were lazy.
my dad didn't have a middle name either.
We should
So who are you?
we should name or give him a middle name.
Retweet contest.
I'm Jesse Marshall,
Wait, so I have to go again because I didn't say my full name. I'm
Okay.
Bruce Elliott McMurtry Jr.
It's a real bitch to fill out on passport
That's a good name.
applications.
And he would know.
I would.
Come on, people.
Come on with what?
Say your middle names.
I already did.
Yeah, he was the one who started it.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
He started it. BJ didn't get to do
What
it.
podcast are you on?
Do you think we just got to Armine and we were like, wait, you don't have a middle name?
Yeah.
Just randomly?
What was your middle name again?
Christopher.
Like Columbus?
Like my dad.
He was
Your dad was Christopher Columbus?
Yes.
I said it before him.
I don't think that's something you want to be proud of. Anyway.
Awkward.
Yay!
Great start, guys.
Yeah, what's the latest?
Thanks, Jesse.
We have an email from Matt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, this
What
ought
is
to be great.
It's short and sweet. It's
dumb asses. dun, dun, dun,
It says, question. I saw this comment on the internet the other day. I thought it was one of the only truly insightful internet comments I've ever read. What do you guys think? It is a screen capture from one of the comments from Imager.
Uh-huh.
It says, everybody's standards rise after ejaculation.
Okay.
Okay.
And so he said, I thought this was one of the only truly insightful comments on the internet I've ever read. What do you guys think?
I think Matt Weed has a chronic masturbation problem.
Chronic masturbation problem solved. Thank you, internet.
Yeah.
No, I don't agree with it.
Oh, what that you agree with about it?
I think my expectations drop. Like as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna go any further than that.
Yeah.
It's not expectations, it's standards. They rise.
Oh, standards.
See, that's the whole
See-
thing, is the fact that the whole comment is saying that you'll literally go for anything.
No.
And then the second you're done, you're just like, I regret everything.
No, I think what he's saying is, but it's very stupid of him to send that question because he's married. So what
Yeah,
he's saying is after
wow,
he gets off, that his wife dips in attractiveness.
Yeah, that's a little weird, actually. Yeah, when you put it that way, that's a little
What
odd.
he should have said was when beating off, not after sex, unless it's like...
Well, it didn't specifically say, it just says
after
in general ejaculation.
Yeah.
That explicitly doesn't say.
Yeah,
like,
the silence is deafening.
yeah.
So...
I mean, matter of fact, the fact that they said ejaculation and not sex and or masturbation is very telling in and of itself.
I'm actually, I think we should delve deeper. I think I should ask him today at Rosetta practice what image he was looking at that comment was on.
And now this is on the internet forever.
Wait, is this live?
Forever.
Oh, thank God.
It's not like I'm going to edit it anyway.
Well, all right.
Say the most racist thing possible.
White girls are the new angry black men.
You want to talk about how that went?
That was pretty awesome.
What happened?
I played a show on Friday night,
Well,
and
What?
my friend Q got on the mic and just started talking. like talking.
And he dedicated this song to Patrice O'Neal, too.
And he got up and he was like, "Where are all the angry black men? White girls are the new angry black men." And a girl left. A girl was so offended that she left.
Really?
Nice.
My brother was like, "Yeah, this girl came to see my band and she left. She was so pissed off."
Really?
It was pretty wild.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was offensive.
I didn't either. I thought it was just
offensive
funny.
Either. I thought it was kind of humorous.
Obviously, people do not have senses of humor in some instances.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of made sense. I mean,
He put it into context.
yeah, he's not,
And he's black.
he didn't direct it as,
We should actually say that. Yeah.
He did.
it's not like he was saying that, women are unjustified in their anger. He was just saying that they're the next social group to bring about some sort of civil change.
I'm going to leave that alone.
You're probably smart to do that.
I actually recently watched. I watched a string of videos related to one video that happened more recently, which was a men's issues. I think it was just like a talk in Toronto. I think it was Canada, and a feminist group showed up and started like making noise in the background. And when they tried to continue doing the seminar, and it was a woman speaking too.
Oh, okay. Wait, was it a men's issues thing, or was it one of those fucking bullshit men's rights things?
No,
Okay. Because...
the explanation of it said men's issues.
Oh, okay.
And
because the whole men's rights activism thing is like a thing. I mean, I'm not going to get into it here, but you can Google it. It's honestly one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life.
But
as a white male
You're Italian.
in America, fuck you, in America, I do feel a certain amount of entitlement, and I don't think all my needs are being met. So,
Wait,
he's trying to say he needs a hand job right now.
Oh, okay.
and a sandwich.
God. I feel like a dick for sidetracking this because I actually want to hear the rest of the story.
It was like a woman talking, and it's talking about men's issues and societal issues and basically what have you. But this group, this feminism group showed up and started chanting and like making all this ruckus. They ended up canceling the seminar.
Damn.
Because of this, and it wasn't the first time that happened, and there were a bunch of reply posts citing other instances of this and videos, and the one video that I saw was a few years back at a similar conference in Toronto that I can't remember if that one got canceled too, but I only got like halfway through it and I was just appalled and just could not watch anymore. But there
What's the content?
it was apparently supposed to be dealing with like it was another men's issues thing, but it was supposed to be dealing with like things like suicide and things all this other stuff. But because one dude, like there were many speakers, because one of the speakers was this known rape advocate, a bunch of feminist groups showed up and started rallying at the doors and blocking them. And started, like, every man that came through to go to the seminar started berating them and calling them scum and calling them rape advocates and calling them this and that. And then when they finally pulled one of those guys that was being, like, berated, they pulled him aside, like, the interviewers, when they pulled him aside, they were like, why did you come to this? And it wasn't because he, was a misogynist and wanted to hear about this other misogynist view and wanted to go about being a misogynist. He went there to get closure on a suicide that his friend committed suicide like a year before, and he went to get like closure and understanding and go to the seminar and hear people's point of views. And then going into that, he's being called an asshole and scum and all this stuff. And there's one of the guys going up to there was even standing there just taking it from this tiny little white girl, just yelling at him. And he just looks to the cop and goes, is there anywhere I can go where she can't go? And the cop's like, do you have a ticket? He was like, yes. He's like, go inside.
Yeah. That one time, like, I guess this isn't really related to this, but it kind of is. One of the deepest, darkest internet rabbit holes that I ever found myself falling down was I got sucked into these debates on YouTube between anti-porn feminists and sex-positive feminists.
Oh my god.
Like, it's honestly was like the most brutal fuck. Because on one hand, you have like this group of women, like, again, it's all just like normal looking white girls, you know, all kind of punky looking, defending like a woman's right to like fucking appear in like bukkake videos and gangbang videos and shit like that. On the other hand, you have the complete opposite extreme saying that all sex with women is rape. It was like one of the... Yeah,
100%.
No,
that's a position.
That is a position, but I mean that's like the very extreme side. But it was just like this going back and forth. But like I spent a whole day like watching these videos, like because everyone was like really incensed about it. It was pretty insane.
I have a lot of questions right now. First,
Okay.
See, I thought you were just going to leave it at that.
when
and
you say
continue.
rape advocate, please elaborate for me.
They kept yelling that they were rape advocates
Okay.
and that they were supporting rape. It's the fact that
I'm sorry. Go
this
ahead.
one dude, and I wish I could remember his name. I'll try to look it up and like put it underneath or something. Maybe I won't.
You have to do it right when your hands were doing
Editing.
anything.
Well, last week Jesse.
I
went
think
like
at this point the whole annotation is going to be the whole screen.
But the last week actually Jesse put his hands up like this to show an image, and I put it there. It was kind of fun.
Wishful thinking.
But apparently the one dude that was there to speak was the reason they were protesting.
Was he a rape advocate?
He said something that was questionably misinterpreted. And I can't remember the quote either, but it was something that could be so easily misconstrued as him condoning rape.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that.
So in that turn, anybody that has any association
With him is
or
now.
wish to listen to what he has to say is a rape advocate and scum and a misogynist and this and that and all the things that they yelled at them.
I would I mean, I'd like to have more information about this because honestly, like this goes back to that like men's rights stuff I was talking about, which basically, if you do any research on it, it basically is just straight
If I just
up.
Google men's rights.
It is just straight up misogyny, you know. So I mean, if there was one of those guys speaking at it, I don't really blame anyone for kind of like taking offense. I mean, and keep in mind, this is all hypothetical because I know literally nothing about the situation. I don't blame anyone for taking offense to like someone like that being and having that kind of forum to speak, and obviously you have the right to protest it, you know.
Well,
it's just a shame that like it sounds like the whole like the gathering wasn't entirely related to that, or it was just one guy speaking, and it's just kind of a shame that the whole thing had to be, you know, kind of.
I think that the catalyst that I was reading was that one guy.
That was just so sensual.
God damn it.
But I think the whole thing was more of like a psychology sort of thing, and apparently this dude has written a book or two on psychology.
Okay.
So he wasn't there to talk about anything he's talked about prior in terms of like being misquoted about rape advocation, but he was there to speak to psychology and like suicide topics and various other like coping things. So they were there, but they were there because that dude was trying to share
was
an
he
opinion.
was he a rape advocate, or did he say something? That was
We're asking the same fucking question.
Well, no, I mean, but you know what I'm saying though. That right there.
No one is actually going to like come out and say, "Hey, I'm a rape advocate," but there are people.
Hey,
that,
I love rape.
After that one guy, I forget his name, but the guy recently who said that blacks were better off as slaves, and
Oh god. Yeah. I mean, it is possible, but I mean, most of the time when you hear people like accuse someone of being a rape advocate, it's mostly because they have an opinion which like basically seems to be justifying like violence against women and abuse, which I mean a lot of people have, and they have like, you know, many different ways of justifying it. So I mean, again, I don't really know anything about the situation, but I mean, if it's a, I mean, if there might be some justification there, depending on what was said.
This is not the panel to make any kind of moral decision on that.
We're a panel?
Well, we're acting like one, I think, right now.
Panel. Sorry. Yeah.
Wow.
So, BJ, what's up with you?
Well, stuff.
Done anything fun?
Nothing.
Okay.
No fun?
No. I did make a funny video of my friend Scott. He's been on the podcast before. Once, I think.
Didn't he go to South Carolina? Or North
He
Carolina?
moved back to North Carolina, and against better judgment and our suggestions, and the suggestions of his friends, and then he realized 8 months later
He should have listened to his friends.
he should have listened to his friends. So he's come back, and he's
Nice.
and it's awesome. And so him and I are actually getting together to work on like writing stuff and doing skits and stuff and doing video things. He was over the other day and we were randomly just talking about stuff, and then I got out my camera and just kind of like did a couple clips and just shot him. I think he was sitting right there.
Really? Right here?
Right there.
Oh, cool.
You're in a famous position right now.
No homo.
But
kind of.
Up for debate.
Yeah. Debatable.
But then when I also took a bunch of pictures of my niece in her Easter outfit for
Aw.
Easter last week. And so when I went to dump all that footage, all the photos to my computer, I noticed I still had those videos on there of Scott. And I was like, oh, I should do something with that. So I made this random video of Scott.
Are you gonna actually edit this to cut in the video?
Yeah. No, it's just gonna be this. What do you say, Scott?
That's kind of tight.
And that was it.
Nice.
After Effects.
Yeah.
I just got Premiere and After Effects for my birthday, and after I get back from my trip, I fully intend to use it.
It's so nice. Have you ever used them before? I suggest going to videocopilot.net, and I'll like text you the link or something. But videocopilot.net has a like a boot camp. I think it's actually called After Effects Boot Camp. And it goes through like the most simple stuff to get you started in After Effects, and it gives you like footage, and it gives you other things, and it gets you familiar with like doing effects and doing compositing and doing all this other stuff, and it's pretty stellar. And then they also have this gigantic list of tutorials that you can like start from way back, and it's like simpler stuff, and then it builds up, and more of the more recent stuff deals with more advanced plugins and like crazy stuff. But it's fun. I would recommend going through the boot camp thing because it's fun.
I will definitely need it. 'Cause, I mean, it's an Adobe program, so I'm sure I'll
Yeah.
have like some sort of
The interface is it's like using Photoshop but with
video stuff.
more windows
Yeah.
and a timeline. But it's fun. I really like that. And that's what that was done in. And that was a simple effect that actually I probably could have done it simpler by motion tracking his face. Instead I spent an extra like 20 minutes physically rotoscoping.
And you will never get those 20 minutes back.
I will never, but it was I spent a very intimate time with his mouth, eyes, and nose.
What? Wow. Good for you.
I can do the same thing to you.
What?
Be very intimate with your mouth, eyes, and nose.
Here, lick my eyeball.
The most major
Lick
orifices.
my eyeball.
What are you, a Japanese schoolgirl?
Yeah.
Apparently.
Eyeball licking.
Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, it's
Really?
very much a thing.
Oh.
I couldn't get into it.
Japan is weird.
I'll be at the eye doctor.
It's not. I'm sure it's not nearly as awful, or not awful, but like not nearly as prevalent as the media would like to make it out. But there are people that have like done it, and as a result, have gotten very sick because of it.
Well, yeah, that's
You're
kind of what
licking an
happens.
eyeball.
Well, yeah, because you're letting all the mouth funk in the eye.
Yeah.
That's pretty porous. So
Now, clarifying, because of that comment, the people that got licked got sick, not the other way around.
Yes,
the licked, not the liquor.
Yeah.
Yeah, eyeball.
it's like infection.
Eyeball's more prone to getting infected than the tongue.
It's just an open membrane.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know a lot about this.
He was in Japan once.
About
Once.
which part? The fact that people do this, or why people would get sick
It
because of it?
seems like you've done a lot of reading on this.
Sounds like you did like
I
a
think
very minimal.
you can kind of sum that up in like one article.
Yeah.
It's
I have
actually an
one
article that
paragraph.
has one sentence. It just says, if somebody licks your eyeball, you will get sick.
Yeah.
Me and
In
Mike
your
saw a movie
eyeball.
last
In
night.
your eyeball.
What's that?
Me and Mike saw a movie last night.
A movie.
Tell Mike.
Oh, is this the Joe Dorowski thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jodorowsky's
cool.
Dune.
Yeah.
It was fascinating. It was funny. And I don't know how I feel about whether or not it was made. I'm still on the... Because I want to see the movie that didn't get made.
Well, tell him what the premise of the movie was.
Well, they went through a lot of trouble to make a shot-for-shot storyboard. I think you would actually really appreciate all the work that went into this.
It was like a couple of years.
And it was two and a half years, and the book is about this thick.
No, it's like that thick.
Sorry,
it's a
that,
big
and it's
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can go bigger.
I mean, it is so detailed that, like, honestly, you could take a freshman in high school who has just the slightest inkling of, I think I might want to go into film. They could follow it and make the movie. Like, it's that detailed. And,
It has like a shot, like camera sweeps.
yeah,
Yeah,
what
I mean-
camera, the direction's got to go, like, and... They gave all this book to every major Hollywood studio. We're like, here's what we've done. Here's the movie we want to make. And every major every major Hollywood studio is like, we think this is fabulous. This is unbelievable. We just can't get behind the director.
Yeah, because that's
He's
like that's
insane.
the important thing about it, man. Have you seen El Topo or Holy Mountain?
I've seen the Holy Mountain.
They're so good,
I
but
know.
they're honestly like
The
honestly,
weirdest
if I
things.
was involved in Hollywood and this guy came up to me and said, "I want you to throw millions of dollars at me for this movie," I'd watch Holy Mountain and be like, "Well, I'd love to, but I can't guarantee that we won't lose like a shitload of money."
But what was so fascinating about it is that book was handed off to Hollywood, and in things like Alien, Prometheus, Star Wars, any of like your other like major Hollywood science fiction productions that have kind of been huge, Terminator, all stolen or borrowed, what have you, from this book that he put together of all of his ideas.
Back up. Alien and Prometheus are from the same artist.
The same artist, but it was funny to
What's
see
fucked
it
up
used.
about that though is like 2 or 3 of the main guys that were involved that he put together for Dune went immediately after this project fell apart into Aliens.
Alien.
Like they were directly.
They just took what they were working on in Dune and then put it in
I
Alien.
mean, like not just a little bit, like
the
exactly.
whole thing went in. It was really interesting, and to see this guy, because if that was me, I'd be crushed. I'd be like, whoa, like that's our work, or what I hired you to do.
But their whole elements that they they talked about this, how he wanted, and he was talking about Orson Welles' Touch of Evil that had that long shot at the beginning of the movie, and how he wanted to do a long shot
In
at the
space.
beginning of Dune in space, and really tell this kind of narrative story with just this camera, and that directly, and it didn't really say this in the movie, but it did say that George Lucas apparently liberally thumbed through that book and was taking notes, because that long shot of the which wasn't exactly what Jodorowsky was talking about or what he wanted to do in Dune, but the way that George Lucas structured the opening scenes in Star Wars were obviously directly influenced by that, and some of the things that he did with the desert planet, Tatooine, and I mean we're just
basically Arrakis.
and then like he had all this like choreographed sword fighting stuff in the book for Dune, and
Just wound up
and
in
they
Star Wars.
showed some of the pictures in the book of the sword fighting scenes, and then they imposed the Darth Vader Obi-Wan Kenobi fight over time. It was like,
It's the
oh,
same
he
thing.
looked it looked exactly the same.
And honestly, to go back to your point, like I don't think that this would have been nearly as weird as the Holy Mountain or
Well, and
it
they,
probably
but,
wouldn't have been, but only because Dune is, it has like a very kind of solidly written story, and it would
But
have
there's
like
a-
more of a plot than the Holy Mountain. Or
Nobody's turning poop into gold.
well, there's a big
That's where I had to
assumption.
stop watching the Holy Mountain.
There's a big assumption though in that movie and in the discussion about it, and they showed another movie that was heavily influenced by the book, that they had given to all these studios. And when I saw this footage, I was like, oh. There's a big assumption about Jodorowsky's Dune, and that's that it would have been a good movie. But you have to ask yourself the question, given what he did with El Topo and Holy Mountain, what would it have looked like visually? Because there's another movie that was majorly influenced by that, and that's Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
Has a lot of the visual elements of what he was going for. I mean, they showed it, and it's pretty obvious that visually it could have looked like a really bad B science fiction movie on this epic, template. So I'm just I'm just throwing it out there that it might not have been that,
Of course. I mean, that's the thing that kind of, is infuriating about
and
the
I
whole
love
thing.
Flash Gordon, but like that movie, but
Well, you also got to take into account that Jodorowsky never made a bad movie ever. Like all of his stuff is incredible. Like
I'm just talking about like the concept of him doing a big budget, over the top science fiction movie. And I'm not talking about doing it now. I'm talking about doing it in the 70s.
Yeah, back then, yeah.
Not the early 80s, not even the mid 80s. We're talking the 70s. It could have been a little like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Yeah.
Like
I think people tend to put on the rose-tinted glasses when it comes to nostalgia that they weren't around for.
right. And I'm not saying they didn't do the war. And I'm not saying that it even would have been a bad movie. I'm just saying that in that discussion, it's never brought up, well, maybe it wouldn't have worked out. Like, maybe it would have been a little unintentionally funny, a little unintentionally over dramatic, which, given that subject, and when you listen to some of the things they were talking about in the movie about the directions some of the things they were talking about doing, if you were just some local dude in Midwest America watching this movie going, what the fuck am I looking at? Like it very well could have been taken that way.
Right.
And that's one. And the other thing too about it that they pointed out, if that movie had been made, like 3 or 4, maybe 5 of my favorite movies would not have been made. Like Aliens, like and if Star Wars had been made, it wouldn't have been the same, even remotely the same movie. Blade Runner wouldn't have been made. Like all of these movies that directly came out of the group of people that like a lot of these guys had never even worked on movies before until he brought them in, and that was their, springboard into doing these other productions. And if he had made that movie, Blade Runner definitely wouldn't have been made. And I love that fucking, and the concept of living in a world without Blade Runner is horrifying.
It's weird to think about, but I mean, if you think about it, if you didn't know Blade Runner, Star Wars, if those movies didn't exist, you wouldn't think to care about it. It might have just changed the movie landscape of that era as far as like science fiction movies go in just a different way, and just I don't know, but it is weird to think about
And
that.
now we're getting meta.
But he certainly wasn't thinking linearly. He was thinking of this in a very like 3-dimensional way, because he had like the actors that he wanted and the costumes that he wanted and the music all thought out.
He knew exactly
every
what
individual aspect of the film. It was really cool. Like he had not just like a vision of a cool idea. He had like the whole thing figured out, and he was amassing an army of people to make it happen.
Well, he had the way he talked about, and this is how over the top he was. He goes, "I want a band, a functioning band
For every planet.
No, for every planet and every group of people.
Yeah.
You know, like I forget, but he went to Pink Floyd. You know, I want you guys to do this aspect of the soundtrack of the movie.
And he almost walked away from them because they wouldn't stop eating hamburgers. Like, all this subtle... It's funny. There's so much about his personality that's so quirky.
Yeah.
Because he's like, they wouldn't stop eating hamburgers, so I almost walked away. But then there's this one... He went up to the guy who did 2001, who got, like, really big doing the models for 2001: A Space Odyssey. And that dude was so full of himself that Jodorowsky just was like, yeah, Jodorowsky, sorry, it was like
Jodorowsky.
Joe. That
Joe and the
Joe
Volcano.
Joe was just
Love
like,
that movie.
He's chilling.
he walked away. He was like, I can't work with this guy. He doesn't really. He said he's like, well, he got no soul. He's
Yeah.
all about money.
He called him a technician.
A technician. He's like, I don't need a technician. I need somebody who's got soul and
No,
spirit.
he goes. I don't need a technician. I need I need a
Spiritual
spiritual warrior. Like, I'm assembling an army of spiritual
What was
warriors.
that really famous Jodorowsky quote where he's like, it's something like, he's like, most people make music, I can't even fucking remember it now. It's like, most people make movies with their eyes. I make movies with my cojones or something like that. It's like something like that. I don't.
He dropped a couple of gems in this documentary. He's like, I had to rape the movie. You can't be sensual with this. I had to rape it.
No,
And
he's talking about taking the book Dune that was
Yeah.
written by Frank Herbert and making
his
the
version.
movie Dune his movie. And he goes, I had to have no respect for the source material. I had to rape it. You know,
Yeah.
I had to come
He's
in,
throwing down
take
some
it,
good ones.
and just completely like make it my own and make decisions and not even give a fuck about the source material. You know, and I really kind of related to that a little bit.
It worked for The Shining.
Oh yeah.
Rape advocation.
I will say,
Full circle.
I hope now that we've kind of, gay is on its way out in the public lexicon. Like, it's never going to go away, but it's not nearly as prevalent as it was however many years ago and whatever. Like, the next word that I honestly hope starts to make its way out is rape. Like, when kids are just like, oh, I fucking raped that kid in fucking Call of Duty or whatever. Like, you do not understand the gravity of what you are saying.
Even when I was like 12 years old playing Quake with people, like whenever like someone would say,
Quake
"Oh my
was so
god,
good.
rape that guy," I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, really?" You know, I wish that kind of gets it should be phased out definitely.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I do love the word rapey.
I know you do.
And on that note,
So you're
I'm BJ
you're the only one,
McMurtry.
hopefully.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Jesse and Al.
Mike Carmine.
Mike Wahlberg.
Mark Pennington.
Well, that was
The end. Damn it.
Thank you for listening to the More Better Narrative podcast. Find us at mbnpodcast.com or on iTunes. For more information, visit us on Twitter or Facebook at mbnpodcast.com or email us at morebetternarrative@gmail.com.